Right. I'm waiting till I'm live. Am I live, Catherine?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Ed Hess. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia, at the Garden School of Business, and honored to have 5 of your classmates and my friends here with us this morning to talk about questions they have in the class. And I'm going to ask everybody to basically, I'll go uh, left to right and start with Ann, because that's just how I was raised. You start with ladies first. And Ann, if you can say a little bit about yourself and where you're from and the type of business that interests you.
Right. My name is Anne Phillips. I work here out of London, England. We're in a suburb called Gravesend, just outside London. We have 2 charities. One is registered here in the UK called BME Concern. That's the parent company. We also have projects in Africa. All our projects in Africa are delivered under the name Ripples in Africa. We support women in African villages. We give them microfinancing to set up their own small businesses. We believe we should give them a hand up, not a handout. So they follow very strict terms and conditions for us for them to join our program. Some of them already produce high quality butters and oils that we now export worldwide. And I'm looking at this course and hoping that I could help me manage the projects in Africa so that we can manage the growth of the women.
Yes.
And be able to deal with the growth potentials that are opening up to us.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for that. Okay. Etienne, you're up. You turn your microphone on.
Hi everyone, my name is Atul Sehgal. I am from India, Delhi. The area of work where I'm working is currently is in sales. We are a company which is into trading business for last 15 years. Uh, the background of people who started this company or are the managing owners of this company are, from this industry, healthcare, having worked more than 35 years in the industry. Uh, I am a part of this team now for last 12 years. My background, although is engineering, but I followed up with an MBA and moved into sales. My purpose of joining this course was to, growth, after reading the notes and probably also the chapter on Julie, a lot of things, there were similarities, probably what I felt, probably what we are going through, or probably she has gone through.
Yes.
But I do feel there's still a lot to learn and probably, to take it forward.
Okay.
For example, for the companies that we work, we are restricted in a certain territory. Say about 25% of the country we are covering for, but it doesn't give you that independence or probably the kind of thing you would like your company to grow up to.
Right.
So
Okay. Well, we will come back. That's very helpful. Okay. Okay. Evan.
Yes. So my name is Evan Wessler. I'm based on Long Island, New York, and we run a business called Method Test Prep. It's a tutoring and academic tutoring and standardized test prep tutoring business. And basically what we do, we have a mix of a lot of different things. We're reaching hundreds of schools across the US with a web-based program so that students can prepare for SAT and ACT. The schools buy a license for the program. We have tutoring here on Long Island, and we also have web-based instruction, and so we reach students all across the world. We've tutored students in Russia and Germany and Brazil, so our reach is global, primarily domestic, growing on the global end as well. And so the reason I'm taking this course is to really try to answer the question that was in one of the readings for week 3 is not only to learn what to do, but to learn what not to do and how to grow intelligently and make sure that we're devoting our resources to things that are going to help us achieve our mission, grow the profit, and overall make a more positive experience for the students we help.
Okay, okay, Rahman? Can you hear me, Rahman? Can you hear me,
Sorry,
Rahman?
I thought we will go with Ali first. So I was just I muted my microphone. My name is Raman. I run a software company based out of Bangalore. So this is a niche company. We've been around for 4 years. We essentially have a software that manages employee transport. So that is a problem which is very particular to India. So we have had some, we have developed a product. We also have a mobile interface. So now we have come to a point where we have some traction with customers. It's an entirely bootstrap company. We are not funded. So I run the company, and I have another 5 people who work with me on this company. So now my main intent in joining the course is to kind of understand how to grow. So there are a number of choices in front of me in what to do or what not to do, and I would like to, because this has been a struggle to come to this point where we have, we've acquired customers, we have some reputation in the market. So how do we take it to the next level? And so that's where I am at the moment.
Right, very good. Thank you. Okay, Ali?
Hi, Ali originally from the United States. I'm an expatriate living in Osaka, Japan. I have a background in architectural design, but lately I've been working as an English teacher, and my intent in the near future is to stand up a new enterprise. I've had some experience in the past with entrepreneurial ventures. I did a design consulting firm in the architectural, engineering, and construction industry. And I also had some experience with franchise businesses. I was really happy with what I learned, but I sort of peaked out at a certain level. And I'm taking this course to look at what I don't know so that I can build this next venture into something bigger than I ever have before.
Very good. Outstanding. Everyone has got an interesting little story, and it's this should be a fun conversation. Who has a question that they would like to ask me in the group first? Just raise your hand. Okay, Ann.
Right. The funding we give the women, the loans we give them under two groups. It could be directly by us or under our Adopt a Village program. If I can just give you a small background on our Adopt a Village program, we encourage corporate organizations to adopt villages. What that means would be that the company would then fund all the projects, including the microfinancing, which is under our enterprise program. And what my question is we find out that we operate in 3 countries, just to give you a background: Cameroon, Nigeria, and Ghana, and the profiles are very different. My question is, where you have a situation where bad debt, it's how to manage bad debt. We have good collection rates amongst the women, but we tend to have between 5 and 10–15% in very bad cases of bad debt. What can we do to reduce the amount of bad debt and amongst the women in this situation? Most of the time, the reasons are quite legitimate, either death in the family or some really bad circumstances, because they're very diligent. The payment rates are usually very high. What do you guys suggest?
Well, I'll take the first shot, and that'll give everybody else time to think and to see if they have some ideas. I mean, you said something very important. Many times the reasons are legitimate, like a death in the family. Therefore, the woman is tending to the family, taking care of the health of a child or a family member, and therefore not spending time on the business. Therefore, the payment becomes late because she's not working in the business. And it would seem to me, if you have somebody that had a good track record and was on time, and you have something beyond her control, okay, comes up which puts her late, it would an idea. I'm not saying these are ideas. It would seem to me you would want to approach her, and because she's been fulfilling her obligations, is there a way to restructure the debt? All right, and in effect, it's almost like a refinancing. Let's start with how much you owe us. And let's start from the beginning, so you're no longer in bad debt when you can go back to work on the business and structure the payments so they're spread out a little bit longer. And in effect, you're not forgiving debt. You're not saying you don't have to pay us, but you're changing the character, because from bad debt to new debt that's owed over a period of time because it was beyond her control. It wasn't that she was making money and not meeting her obligations. So it changes the label, the tone, and it's no longer you're a debtor, you're a bad person image. It's like, we understand, and I'll use US dollars. Let's say that you loaned someone $100, they had paid it down to 80, and now they're in default, and you probably have interest running, and let's say instead of 80, she owes 90. And why not say, okay, starting now, your loan is $90, and you're going to pay X dollars a week over some time period till you pay that back. And you roll the interest that she owes and make it part of principal, and you start anew. That's just an idea. Anyone else have any ideas? Yes, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this wouldn't apply to situations in which bad debt has already occurred, but when you're seeking new individuals to whom you can microlend, maybe making sure that the people they have working with them, make sure there's some redundancies in the organization, so that if one person has some kind of catastrophic family event or something like that, that there is someone who can manage the processes and keep the business, if not optimal, at least afloat, and so that totally bad, maybe they need to delay some payments or restructure, but they don't go straight into a default situation.
I think one of the I'm just very mindful of time, so I didn't want to go too much into the details of how they're set up. Generally speaking, the women never work alone. They work in groups of 4, primarily to ensure that activity goes on. However, each person is responsible for their own loans. So when there is a problem like that, what then tends to happen is that the woman is the only one out of the group not paying well, and then that begins to affect.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Evan. Okay. Who has a question? Who would like to go next? Raise your hand. Ali?
Hi, thanks. I hope I'm not going too far ahead in terms of the curriculum of the class, but just thinking about the principle of planning growth before we start putting a lot of effort with, sort of blind into the business. I wonder if the idea that the concept of an exit strategy is something that I didn't hear mentioned in the class so far.
Right.
And I wonder if that is a wise consideration when thinking of growth, meaning I want to think about the entire life of the business that I want to start.
Yes.
From now until either I outlive the business or the business outlives me.
Yeah.
So how to think about exit strategy
Yes.
In terms of growth?
Yes. That's a good question, and you're quite correct. It's not generally talked about in the course because of the course focus, which is the really how to scale a business that is already got a commercialized product and you're making enough money to sort of live, and now you want to take it to the next level in scale. But it is a valid point, okay? It's a valid point in the sense that even when you're thinking about starting a business, what are your goals with the business? Is it to be a long-term owner? Is this in effect, your life's work? Or are you, in effect, building a business because you want to build a business and have an exit? And I think that, and you see very different growth strategies in companies that are basically building to exit quickly versus companies that are building for a long-term hold. And especially if companies are building for an exit, they're more likely to seek outside investors who are basically also motivated for an exit, because when you're building for an exit, your main focus is to drive revenue as fast as you can and be able to scale revenue to show that there's some large market for your product. When you're building a business for yourself that you're looking to hold long term, your goal is, clearly you want to scale revenue, but you're as important as you want to scale profits, how much cash flow you're generating, because it's your money financing the business. And so it's a different attitude as to what the entrepreneur wants to do. Most people taking this course are people that don't plan to get venture capital or outside investors, and therefore the focus of the course has been on, okay, how do you scale a business that's got to be self-sufficient? That's the whole concept of smart growth or intelligent growth, and planning your growth so you don't grow too fast and blow yourself up, so to speak. If you've got access to capital and you want to scale a business that is in an industry that's a high growth industry, that's got a large customer segment, and you say to yourself, based on all my research, if I get this to 20 million of revenue within a year, there'll be buyers. Your whole goal is how do I get to that 20? That's different than my goal is I want to get to $1 million making $200,000 a year, and right now I'm at, if you will, 75,000 of revenue. I want to go from 75 to $1 million. So it's very different mindset. It is, I'm giving you a long-winded answer, I apologize. It is very relevant depending on what your goal is, all right? Because it will frame how you analyze and how you plan and whether you raise capital and how much, but it will plan, if you will. You tend to take lots more risk with other people's money than your own. And so
do you mean that entrepreneurs tend to be more liberal in like what kind of choices they're going to make if they're risking somebody else's capital? Is that what you mean?
I want to say, I don't want to use the word, they tend to take more risk. They're willing to if you got money in the bank from somebody else, you don't have to, you're not as sensitive to, how much should I spend and when. What you're sensitive is I got to drive revenue. And that's why, for example, okay, if you look at venture capital money, if a venture capital firm makes 10 investments, as a general rule, 7 are going to fail. 1 or 2 will be singles or maybe doubles, we call them using baseball terminology, and 1 may be a great hit because it's a high risk. Let's go as fast as we can. So it depends on where you want, what you're trying to do, okay? And we don't focus on the venture capital side in this course. Okay. Okay. Other
Thanks.
questions? Sure. Thank you. Good question. Okay, we got Rahman. Can you hear me? Yep. You're on.
Yes, Ed. Ed, like I mentioned, I have my own software company. We've been around for, about 4 years now. For the last, few months, our revenues have started becoming stable, and we are in the black, and we're building a slow cash flow. Uh, but at the same time, I don't have a large employee strength, and uh, you know, now as we acquire more customers, the issue is that our operations in terms of our delivery, we are getting stretched. So not only me, my entire team is getting stretched.
Yeah.
At the same time, what is happening is that there are some very well-funded competition who have come into our space because the
Yes.
space has become a little more lucrative, though we're in a niche. So now, my fear is, over the last month, I was trying to push for growth, but at the same time, I had delivery issues, so I had to come back. But I'm not able to hire more people because my revenues are not catching up fast enough. I'm not interested in getting funding at the moment. So currently that's where I am. So so the fear is that the competition will come take over the market. We might not have a space
Right.
to grow in the future. That could also be a point. So that's where I am at the moment, Ed.
Yeah. You're. I understand, and as you well know, there are no easy answers. Okay. So the first question is, are there ways to hire qualified people, qualified good people on a contract basis and part-time to sort of like that you can, when you have a high need, you can bring them in, but you're not paying them full-time salary. So is there a way to bootstrap the employee side? Is there a way to bootstrap the technology platform and upgrading the technology through leasing the technology, SaaS, okay, software as a service? Can you basically lease on a monthly basis? So you've got you don't have the large capital outlay, or you don't have the large upfront payment. So to continue to bootstrap, you have to basically get to the point is, how can I get what I need and manage it so I don't have the money. So what are my big restrictions? I don't have a lot of capital. I only have a limited amount of time. I'm in a hot market. You could look out for, raising money from family or friends. That changes the whole ball game. But people that have been there before that I've studied have first started, how can I bootstrap it? All right? How can I bootstrap it? Are there young students in technology schools that have the experience? They'd work so many hours a week. Is there another small firm that's not doing as well as I am, that's got excess hours that I can buy some of their hours? How can I upgrade my technology? You either have to put more money in, raise money, or how do you get the resources on the cheap but still stay quality? There's no magic bullet. It's a constant struggle as you grow. So I don't have good news. I have, I think, reality for you. Anyone else want to help me out on that, that's been through that? Okay, they're leaving me to hang by myself. Okay, all right. Next question. You.
Can I say something to Ramana?
Yes, you sure can.
I don't know if it's gonna, how much value my advice is gonna be, but I just wonder. It sounds like a big part of his issue is the competition that's emerging, and
Yes.
I wonder if trying to devote effort and focus on sort of ramping up your staffing might not be the right place. My intuition tells me that you may be served by finding out or getting a little bit more data or intelligence about the nature of the competition and what their interests are. To I don't know, perhaps negotiate with them at some level to see if there's a way to partner with one of those entities, because to have too rigid of a relationship with those potential competitors might not be that
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, and I think part of the I think we lost Rahman. Okay.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. You're back. Okay. Now you went to a different place on my screen. All right. I think it's Ali's point's an interesting point as to the scope of the competition and who they are and how well capitalized they are. I don't know your fact situation. Okay. None of us do. The interesting thing about my research in these growth companies that have been very successful that I found interesting and quite surprising to me, and I'm not saying this is what you should do. I'm just telling you what the research says, all right?
Sure.
I was very surprised how little they focused more on their customer and getting the next customer, and they didn't focus that much on their competition. A lot of them were, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be focused. You know your world. But I found it interesting in my research that the more people focused on their current customers, keeping them happy and getting that next customer, the more that, like, there were plenty of customers out there. There's plenty of customers. And people that focused on competition sometimes took their eye off their customer, and their customer service went down, and their customers then had a reason to want competition to come in.
Right.
So I'm not, again, the only person more dangerous is somebody that's listened to you for 4 minutes instead of 2 minutes. Okay? In other words, we don't know your situation. These are just ideas for you to consider, all right? Ideas to think about, because we don't know your environment. We don't know even the product. We don't know the competition. But there's always, when you're starting out, going to be somebody bigger, better capitalized than you that can come into your market. By definition, it's unlikely that you're the only one that's found this market in this niche. All right.
Sure.
Can I add?
Yes.
Sorry. Can I add something to it?
Yes.
Probably what I feel. I'm not a part of IT sector, so I'm really not sure. How the market would be operating. One of the ways is to have employees who would act as your sales people to promote the product and get the business. One of the ways could be having people with a background and making them a distribution system kind of a thing, a distributor. In, say, the 4 regions of India, you can have post at 4 places. To start with, you can begin with an experiment in the west side or east side, and probably it may add value because he would be earning for himself, because he would be an entrepreneur. He won't be an employee, and probably his commitment would be better than an employee. That's what probably I think. I may be wrong.
That's an interesting idea to basically build a distributor relationships that are not employees that get a percent, paid on a commission. That's an interesting idea. Yes, Ann?
Yeah, just wondering if you get any form of feedback from your current customers. Do you get any feedback from them to know what they like, what they don't like, so you can sort of map out what works, what doesn't work?
Yeah, actually, yes, we do. And off late, what is happening is because of, actually, it's my fear less than what the product is doing. Is kind of the ball is not on the customer completely. The ball is on, can we get more? Because the fear is. But like you were saying, the customer has feedback, and up till now we have been focused on engineering. So we want to make a well-engineered product, which is ahead of in technology in its particular space, which it is at the moment, and we want to keep it that way. But again, the big fear is, while we're investing so much in engineering, if a lot of money comes in and we might not even be able to, use all of the money we have spent to grow. So that is the space we are in at the moment.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's see. Evan, you haven't asked a question. You got a question?
Yeah. So I guess in companies that that exhibit, you know, what we'd consider, great growth, when they seek new employees, see that we're in an interesting situation. I and the other individuals on our management team, we all started essentially as tutors, so as educators first, and we've kind of grown into the entrepreneurial role, and we all like that, but it also means that we're learning on our feet, which is exhilarating but puzzling at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of us have a tendency to be the jacks of all trades,
Mm-hmm.
and our company is well focused, but to achieve all of our operations, one thing we need to work on is getting each individual to be more focused on specific
Right.
roles.
Correct.
So we're working on that for ourselves. When these companies that you've written briefs on, when they take on more people, do they tend to look for people who are the jacks of all trades, or do they tend to hire people for very, very specific roles, train them for very specific roles, and I'm not going to say pigeonhole, but just make sure that they're filling a very particular part of the business, or do they go for someone who's going to be able to take on multiple roles?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there are exceptions, but as a general rule, they hire for capabilities that they don't have themselves.
Right.
In other words, they're hiring for specific needs, for a group that's really good at selling and marketing, but not good at the administration or finance and accounting and the numbers and all of the measurements and the data. Will hire somebody in that area, somebody that's good in that area, but has been making do, selling as best they can, marketing, but really wants to scale. They'll go and hire a sales or marketing person, and so they start planning strategically to fill those gaps. Now, if you're looking at somebody from the business side and you have multiple needs, you may find somebody that has the ability to do, if you will, finance and operations.
Mm-hmm.
You may find somebody with the ability to do sales and marketing. So you may find in that niche you need somebody that's had experience. The big challenge is what I would call cultural fit, in recruiting people that fit into the team you have and making recruiting a science. In a small business, hiring people that don't work out is extremely expensive from a lost opportunity and a time viewpoint, and from a financial viewpoint. And so people tend to, as I say in part two, people tend to hire fast and fire slowly. And what they should do is hire slowly and fire fast.
Yep.
And you got to have basically some science of hiring for cultural fit, how you interview people, what type of backgrounds you're looking for, what type of experience, and to make sure you're buying. In the interview process, there are two sales jobs going on. The person selling himself for a job or herself, and you selling the company. What you got to make sure is you know what you're buying, and they know what they're getting, and you've got a real honest, candid way of doing that. That takes time and effort. And the research shows that entrepreneurs are basically very bad at doing that. They tend to go through multiple hires at specific positions before they get the right person, and until they learn how to really do it. Bradford Smart wrote a book, the best book out there, top grading, on how to hire in growing businesses, and many of the companies I studied used his book. So you can look that up on Amazon. It's a big book, but it's worth it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We had Natalia join us.
Yes. Hi, everybody.
Yes.
Sorry for being late.
That's okay. Tell us just a real short, a little bit about you and why you're taking the course, and then we'll let have everybody introduce some.
So yeah, there are some technical problems.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. I'm currently I'm an entrepreneur, and before I worked for more than 10 years for top multinational FMCG companies in marketing.
Mhm.
And why I joined this course? Uh, I really want. I have a new venture now, and I really want to get maybe new knowledge and a little bit broaden my perspective on how I can make it bigger
Yeah.
and more successful.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, we will come back to you and give you a second to get a feel for how it's going, and I'll see if I got any questions, any question or comments from anybody else. Yes. All right. We're going back to Atin. You're on. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Like I said, we are a company which is now into 15 years of its operation. Typically, we are working as distributors for two multinational companies
Mhm.
in a certain geographical territory. Say 25% of the, if I say about our country, so we would be covering the northern part of the country for these two companies. Over a period of time, there is an entrepreneur in everyone. So I have been with this company for so long, so I do feel that it's time to move to the next growth way. Probably uh, tying up with a international manufacturer for certain products which are aligned with our industry, taking it up uh, from say 25% of the territory to 50, and gradually scaling it up to become a pan country player rather than a small player in a small area.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So how do we go from say 25 to 50? Now that's my question. Having located somebody already, having tied up with them, how do I move from 25 to 50? That's my point. Should I, like the same thing what Raman was talking, hiring people, moving, scaling it up. Uh, how do I really do it?
Well, one one you got to make some you got to make some judgments, and you got to decide which way you're going. All right, you're selling certain products in an industry now in certain part of India, right? So you've got a territory, and you're playing in an industry, and you've got buyers that have specific needs. So are you going to add on a product from an international manufacturer that complements your current product line, so you're dealing with the same customer segment, okay? Or are you going to go and add a new product line in a new customer segment? That's question number one. Question number two, if you're adding another product that you're selling into the same customer segment, and you've got distribution in 25% of the geography, do you have people working for you in those areas that can basically expand their business into new geographies for you, so you're dealing with the same sub-distributor, the same wholesaler, if you will, so that you don't have to go find new wholesalers. So you've got those sort of what I call strategic focus questions. If there are products which your current customer base needs, products or services, that's the lowest risk way to expand. Then you're using your same distribution system. If you're going to new products, then you've got to find a new customer segment with new distributors. So, that's the first question. Uh, is it a diversification move or a scaling move? If you're using
Uh,
products in the same industry with the same customers and selling them more products and services, then it's a scaling question, all right, as to how you scale your distribution channel once you lock up the profit. And then it's all down to recruiting the right distributors. And the question I'm asking you is, can you mitigate that risk by having your current distributors scale for you?
We currently, we would be acting as distributor. So my sales team, including myself, would be involved in this 25% of the territory.
Okay, so you've got your employees are the salespeople.
Yes, they would be kind of my distribution channel would be through my sales team.
All right. So then if you're gonna sell more in the current 25%, they can handle it. But if you're going to move to another territory, you've got to hire people, right? So you got to go through the hiring. You got to figure out who, why, etc. Or do you have people working for you that are willing to move into a new territory, so that you're using a tested person who's earned your respect and you know are good? Will some of your people move to a new territory and build the relationships? Do you hire what's called fresh people, or do you basically take some of your existing people and have them move?
Uh, we normally hire fresh.
Yeah. And then what's your success rate? What percent of them work out?
Like attrition rate would be high because what happens, say down the line in a year's time, they are trained so much because we train them the right way. That has to be. So
Yeah.
somebody, somebody would poach, and because they have a ready-made person now with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you've made that investment and lost them, and that's why I'm saying
Yes.
to consider whether some of your employees that have stayed with you will move,
Mm-hmm.
go into a new area. And because they know the industry, they know the market. Now they won't have the relationships, but maybe then the other iron is to find out, okay, in the 25% territory, okay, I'm making up numbers. Say there's 1,000 potential customers. Who's selling to those customers already something, and they can use your products through their distribution channel, and you do a joint venture?
Right.
All right. Other questions, anybody? We've got about 8 more minutes.
Ah, someone else.
Who, Ann? Yes.
My second one is about how we manage growth.
Yes.
Because we are in other African countries, we get requests from other African countries to come set up. The problem is with putting the structure in place to be able to cope with that, the finance, the expertise, and all of that.
Yeah.
We've been able to use some of the people we trained in Ghana, for an example, to be trainers in Nigeria to develop some of our women.
Yeah.
But I think what I struggle to properly assess and evaluate is how much can we take on from the London office, not so much from the interaction of the African countries, but what we in the office, because we sort of serve all of them, can deal with optimally without breaking, because the need is always growing. And I try to apply your thing about span of control.
Yes.
And I'm struggling to make that work when you're talking culturally across all of that.
Yes. Yes.
I
Very.
just
Yes.
have some advice on that.
Yeah. Very challenging problem. Let me ask a question.
Sure.
Let's say you're basically in 3 countries, and you.
I have requests from another 3.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just take the 3 you're in. You're in 3 countries, and generally you have, as you said, 4 women working, together, but the loans are individual, but they're working in a group.
Yes.
Not just
all, but that's how the groups are formed. Yes.
Sure. Okay. So say Nigeria, or just take Nigeria. How many different women groups do you have working in Nigeria?
We're in 128 communities.
Yep.
With over 3,000 women.
Okay. So the question I ask is that should you look in Nigeria, creating a small office, 2 people, say 3 people, that are responsible for the administration and the financing of all of Nigeria that reports to you? In
Right.
other words, do you basically centralize a small staff in each country where you've got mass
Right.
that knows the country, knows the different cultures and the ways, but are professional, and they take that burden off the women,
Right.
but also they're closer to the environment, and they're closer to being able to go and visit and help and inspect, and they could also be not only be doing finance and administration, but mentoring or coaching and solving problems. And so a little small team, and you could start out with just 2 people.
Right.
Is that a model that then can be scaled in different countries? Because the bigger you grow, the more you have it headquartered in London, the farther you are away from the reality of the environment.
Yes, I visit every 3 months.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But the bigger you grow, you can't visit everybody. Yeah.
right. Yes, I think that's really very helpful. I think I will try that.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth thinking about,
Yeah.
thinking through it. It's an idea.
Yeah.
An idea. And I'm sensitive to the fact that, you know, it's hard to make conclusions or judgments in a short telephone call. So I'm throwing out ideas that all of you need to critically think about. Okay, critically think about. Okay, it's impossible for me to know. It's only possible for me to make an educated guess. Okay, we have 3-4 minutes. Anybody?
Okay, I have a question. Well, it's more generic, but the question is, growth hackers is a certain mindset. And the question is, do you believe it is just inborn quality, or it could be developed?
A growth mindset, could it be developed? Yes, it could be developed. It's interesting when you study successful entrepreneurs. There are lots of different types of people that become very successful entrepreneurs. Introverts, extroverts. People that are very cautious versus people that are not that cautious. People that are very people-oriented, sales and marketing-oriented versus people that are very detail, operational, technology-oriented. And if you look at people that succeed, the people that succeed are very, if you will, focused on what I call the 3 W's. What am I selling? And that can be from 2 perspectives. Physically, what am I selling? And emotionally, what am I selling? Who is my potential buyer? And why are they going to buy from me? And the why is someone going to buy from me is the most important question that has to be answered. What are you going to offer that other people are not offering that I desperately need or really have a high need for, that I'm willing to give you money in exchange for? And the entrepreneurs that get in trouble and the businesses that get in trouble is people love their product or service more than they love their customer, which means entrepreneurs who think they know the answer instead of constantly getting feedback and listening and adapting to their customers. I had a very successful entrepreneur, a woman that built 3 successful companies, and Ali, she was building to exit, so she built and sold all 3 companies successfully. Professor Ed, make sure you always tell your students, listen until it hurts. Listen to the customer, listen and what is the need, and how, is the need a got to have instead of a nice to have? And so what are you offering and so I think that anybody that's got an entrepreneurial mindset, in a sense of willing to learn by doing and try things, and willing to listen to customers, and willing to know that we don't know all the answers, and the only way to learn is to go take small steps and learn as you go. Great businesses are built in small steps. You learn as you go and you manage your risk, and you never lose sight of the fact that you know, there's only so much time and so much cash, and make sure you're spending your time where it's the most important for you. I don't know if that helps.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's a really good answer.
And, well, what I would like to do now is, um, I apologize. I have to drop off 5 minutes early today, but we can keep, Catherine, can we keep it open so they can talk among themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we will keep it open 5 more minutes, and y'all can talk or learn from each other.
Oh, yes.
Again?
So for discussion, yeah?
Yeah, for discussion. Yep. And I thank you for your questions. I thank you for your engagement. I thank you for your interest. All good questions. I've done these now for several courses, and I don't mean to offend anybody in the past, but I mean, your questions were the best questions I've had yet. So I thank you. And maybe I'll see some of you in a couple of weeks for the next Google Hangout. And but thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Really interesting stuff.
So Ali, you said you're teaching English in Japan right now?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is that sort of a it was just interesting to me because a number of our instructors have actually taught English in Asia, Japan and South Korea. Is that sort of a stopgap for you, or are you looking to, I guess, get into that English teaching field, or is it just?
It's honestly, it's not my interest.
Gotcha.
Even I usually.
My idea about being an entrepreneur is to use my business as a vehicle to learn about what I'm passionate about, which is construction and design.
Okay.
Architectural design. I think all of the countries that I've been to, the level of quality in architectural and building technology here is unparalleled. So, one of the things that I'm doing is custom or tailoring my English teaching classes to people in that industry.
Ah, okay.
And there's different strata of English students or English as a second language students. There's children, there are adults, seniors, retirees, and then academic or business or whatever have you. So what there is for me to do is to kind of merge those, the necessity of being in the industry that I already am positioned in, and then kind of merging that with my interest. I teach English in that field among that community. So that's where my interest lies, and that's a more detailed description of education and design.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Stephen, are you in Africa?
We have, I think we have one or two schools. There are American schools in a couple of African countries. I would have to go and check our list. We have a little over 800 schools, most in the U.S., but I believe one or two are in Africa. I know we have a couple in India, a couple in Asia, a few more in Europe, and some in South America. But I would have to check up.
Africa, West Africa, where we are. If you let me know, maybe we can help you with that.
Yeah, that would be an interesting prospect.
Yes.
This is to Anne. Anne, have you read about what Mr. Yunus has done in Bangladesh? And
yeah, I've read quite a bit about what Mr. Yunus has done, but what we have found is that each of the countries are different and they have their own peculiarities. And like everything else, you can't just lift anything from whether the West or from India or from, and just plant it in any, you have to customize it. So what we did was we did quite a lot of surveys and we've run a few pilots before we came up with our own model of microfinancing that works, because we don't just do microfinancing. We give them the loans, but this is supported by medical. I will take a group of doctors and we give the whole village free medical for a whole day. We would put medical equipment in the hospital. We would give science equipment to schools. So we are driven by what the women want. We hold what we call town hall meetings. And when they tell us what they need, we do what we can to help them support that. Because if the woman is happy, her children are well, then she will trade. She will trade most of the time. If her children are sick, then half the year she'll do nothing. She'll be looking after the children. So we look at women empowerment from a global point of view rather than just focusing on the business.
Okay.
Okay, looks like. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to say. I need to head out and preparing for a trip to Africa, so if you guys don't mind, permission to leave, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Really, really great to meet you guys.
Good to meet you.
Even I hope we can hook up later, yeah?
Yeah. I wrote down your information, so I'll try to contact you later on today.
Okay then. Well, thank you all. Great meeting you.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And by the way, do you know whether like a report of this Hangout is available somewhere, or I'm just interested to listen the beginning
Yeah,
of
I
this
think
session.
I think it was recorded and it will be opened up to everyone who's taking the class. I don't know where. I would imagine they're going to make a link available in the discussion forum or I don't know, somewhere in the course outline.
Great. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Very well. Thank you.
It would be available in the YouTube. They would put a link in the discussion forum. So that's how probably you can catch up whatever was left earlier.
Very cool.
Okay. Well, I have to go. Yeah. See you later then.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I think I'll be running too, guys. So it was good talking to all of you.
Same here. Good to know about your company and the way you're working.
Yeah, yours too. I mean, it's like you guys we all have different challenges to deal with, and that's probably what we're all going to be getting back to right after this call. Alrighty, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah.
You too.
Nice to meet you.
Cheers.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I think we are the only two ones who are left here now.
We better say something or else they're going to shut us off. Everybody's going to
So you are associated with one of the schools in Japan?
I have been working for a number of different schools, but I started marketing to my own students, and so I left it. I left employment with those other schools, and consciously, I basically want to sort of cross the Rubicon, commit myself to being an entrepreneur. So this is the way that I want to go.
Hi guys,
And you are?
Gary at Darden. I'm getting ready to end the connection if you guys are done.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right, thank you for participating.
Right, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.